Now, how would you say the game is being received so far?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, really. Coming into Steam Early Access, I didn't really know what to expect. So we had done a Kickstarter, which was successful, but mildly so. It was a humble success, I'd call it. And early access has been a weird one because you see sometimes some games just go absolutely crazy, and then some other really great games they don't do very well at all. So I just didn't really had no idea what to expect. I came into it with a great deal of anxiety. So far it's been moderate. It's been okay. It's not Minecraft or anything, but we are getting a few people playing the game. A lot of people are actively participating within the community and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, it seems to be okay. And Steam has really changed a lot of the rules around early access as well. So before it was like almost like a regular full release. You would get as much exposure. You would see your capsules on the front page and all that sort of stuff. Now they don't do that. So if you look for Phantasmal, you would actually have to literally go and deliberately search for it. You can't see it. Yeah, you can't see it on any of the capsules or any of the genre-specific general searches or anything like that anymore either. So visibility is pretty crappy. You actually have to go and ask Steam to do stuff for you and things. So I think it's not been wonderful, but at the same time, I feel like in a way Steam is actually really onto it because if an early access game isn't that polished to begin with, it gives you that trickle in exposure. Enough people start playing it, they give you feedback, which we are getting a lot of great feedback currently, and we're in a position to change it. If we, let's say, had tens of thousands of people playing the game, I think I would not be able to manage it. I think I would just be inundated and just stressed out. So it's at a pace now where I can comfortably answer everyone's questions, talk to everyone and stuff like that. So yeah, in a nutshell, it's good.
That is good. You're not too like over your head, which is always a good thing.
Yeah,
Um,
precisely. And in
how?
future too. Sorry,
Nope.
what
Go
will
ahead.
happen? What will happen is once we do hit full release, once we're ready to change over the status to that, then we do get all the visibility and stuff. And by that time, hopefully, we put in enough patching and updates and stuff that our game is a heck of a lot better. So we'll be ready then. So I think Steam. I was a bit bummed that we didn't get as many sales as I kind of secretly was hoping for, but I think it's actually worked out better.
Now, how long have you been working on this game?
The game started as a 7-day FPS game jam game, and I think that was we're at what year are we now? 2015.
Yeah, 2015.
I never remember. I'm pretty sure it was 2013, so it was probably a September since then that when the concept kind of kicked into play, and then I kind of just did it all around and didn't really do much until the following year. So I'd say probably around March 2014, I kind of really started taking it from just a hobby project into something I wanted to really develop. The turning point was when my current marketing advisor, there's a guy called Mick Solomons who worked on another game called The Forest. Have you ever come across that one in Steam?
Oh, The Forest. I've put a lot of hours into
Oh,
that
really?
game. Oh God, that game is yeah, I
Yeah.
actually have highlights of me like blowing up whole
Oh.
towns with one bomb like playing
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
I've put a lot of hours into The Forest.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, it's a really good game, and they did an amazing job. So Mick was essentially the marketing person behind that. So he did an amazing job. And for whatever reason, somehow he found me on LinkedIn when I was just putting some stuff up, and I think a few things in TIG Source. And he said to me, "Hey, would you like me to assist you with marketing?" At that point, I was thinking, why would anyone bother with this piece of poo garage project? So he really helped me kind of look at it in the light of that this could be developed into something serious. So I think around about March last year, that sort of kicked in, and then I started looking for people within our local game development association to kind of join me. And we then decided to go down the whole Kickstarter route, and that's kind of when it sort of turned serious. So I'd say between sort of March to April or so, that's when we kind of really seriously started to do things. So I'd say, and we're May now, I think, so maybe a year and a bit. Yeah.
Now, is how many people are involved in the making of the game?
At the moment, I think we've got 9. So we've got 2 full timers, and then the other guys are they've got a job already or in various states of part time.
Okay. Now, do you have any examples of what's gone right so far during development?
In terms just the technical or just the whole shebang so far, including the release and the marketing and stuff?
I would say the whole shebang, or like, did you find that you went to put some AI in the game and it broke everything,
Oh,
things like that?
yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. I actually have probably millions of stories, but
Oh boy.
I'll pick my favorite stuff, I guess. I've been in software development for a long time, and most of my roles have been in QA. So even though I'm kind of a dev at the moment, I still kind of I fill the tester role, and I'm a very harsh one at that as well. But oh man, yeah. I mean, I did most of the development myself, I think, up until about September, and then we brought in some new people to work on that sort of stuff. So we'd actually so the AI is actually a really good example. Beforehand, we had a state machine sort of driven system behind it. So it worked really well, but it was really difficult to do any more with it. So I could do the basic stuff like walk around and hunt for you and stuff. And it did that really well. But we couldn't do anything like make it chase flares or do anything else sort of fancy with it. And so we decided to then upgrade to a behavior tree system. So which operates on a much different level. But we had to code in a lot of extra things to actually make it even come back to the level that we had before. And I think we still aren't there yet today. I think we're getting close now. And so I've had been in a position where had a whole bunch of work done. I kind of focused on some business stuff, and I came back and it was like we were just about to go into our own internal beta type release for the Kickstarter backers, and just everything was broken. It was like oh man, you'll go and walk up to one of the starvers and they wouldn't react to you, or they'll just go running into a wall, which they do quite a bit of now anyway. But it was worse back then. So AI breaks a lot. That's one of the probably the more complex side of coding. Yeah, so I've had a lot of things like that. But to answer your question of what has gone really well, one of the really outstanding things, and this ties back into the Steam early access thing, is even though we had a few negative reviews and some people complained about some bugs and stuff like that, one of the things that we've done really well, and this actually interestingly ties into your customer service experience as well. We had a few bunch of negative type things, but after early access, I had like about 3 hours of sleep, and I read these things. I'm like, if you man, people like negative reviews.
Yeah.
If you man, we're early access, leave us alone, bro. That was my first reaction when I saw stuff, and then I called Mick and I said, you just our normal status meeting, and he said, now don't troll back and flame. And I said, okay, I'll be professional. I'll pretend I'm at work, my old work. And so I went back and I said, with a lot of the negative reviews, I said, oh, that's a valid point. You picked up a lot of bugs. A lot of them are in our queue currently. Send them the link to our forum. We're working on them right now as we speak. And I'm sorry you didn't enjoy the game, but we'd love your feedback and making this game something you would love. And the weird thing was, all of these guys came back and said, oh, shit, you answered me. Thanks for your reply. And yes, I will definitely look at it again. So we got downvoted with some of these guys, but I think they really appreciated that we listened to them. And in fact, one user came back, I think yesterday. His name was the Beard of Prey, and he wrote a message. It said on the forum, it said, "To the developers." That was the title, and I saw it, and I go,
boy.
"Oh, no." Yeah, exactly.
I'd be like, oh, here we go.
Race for impact.
Yeah.
Opened
Flame
it up.
on.
Flame on, brother, flame on. But I opened it up, and it said to all the developers, to Ash, that's my nick in Steam, I thank you so much for responding so positively to all of the people and responding on time. I've seen so many early access developers just lose interest or start getting rude and flame back customers and stuff. But you know what? I thank you guys for being on top of it. I saw some videos. I saw some of the bugs. I wasn't keen, but now that I've seen this, you're getting my money. And I was like, dude, that is like the coolest thing ever. That's just made my year. This is what makes the angst and the pain of indie game development bearable. Not just bearable, but that's what this is all about. This is about making someone, just a little bit of their life, just rounding out that corner, making them a little bit happy. It's just the coolest feeling. So that's one of the things that I felt has gone really well so far.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, and you're right in saying some of the developers will get rude or lose interest.
Yeah.
People people like it when the developers interact with them and,
Yeah,
answer questions and things like that. It's like, because let's face it, if you go
yeah,
to a AAA title, you post on their forums, "Oh, I found this bug." They
yeah.
ain't talking back to you. They don't even care. It's like they're
Right.
like, "Yeah, okay, whatever," type thing. But it's a whole nother ball game with indie developers because you do, you guys deal with or almost depend on the people to find the bugs or different instances where bugs where maybe you haven't hit that or reached that or had that scenario happen. So it kind of helps, but people also have to understand it's like it is early access.
Yeah.
There are going to be bugs, and that's fine. It's early access, but I think people are also in the mindset that it's got to be perfect now. It's like, well, it's not. Sorry, have you ever beta tested or alpha tested back in the day when you had to fill out applications and like you'd
Exactly.
walk 2 steps and the game would crash and you'd be like, all right, let me restart it, and it was just like nothing. You're like, okay, let me just
No,
restart it.
it's just life, right?
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's beta, so who cares? It's gonna
I
crash. It's
know.
gonna have bugs.
That's so true. In fact, one review I think was started off with, "It's early access, but it's no excuse for blah." And it's like, dude, have you ever even, have you ever been in software development? Do you know how complex this entire thing is? Let alone game development, which introduces even more factors. So of course I didn't say that. That was what was racing through my mind, and I wanted to type that, but I didn't type it.
Well, I mean, some people just don't get it. They really
And
don't, and it's like it is early access. There's bugs. It's like a beta test or an alpha test.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think as long, well, for me, and this is subjective, of course, is if it's an early access and the game doesn't constantly crash. Like I remember the Forrest and Mick was telling me about this, that their day one release would actually constantly CTD, so crash to desktop, like often.
Mm,
So that's one thing that it happens on our side, but a lot of that is to do with, I believe it's to do with the Unity game engine, like that Alt tab thing. That is a constant recurring bug that has been plaguing several different versions of Unity. So unfortunately, I think one way that we need to get around that is to migrate completely to Unity 5. So there's stuff like that, but I think for the most part, I mean, I mean, I personally tested the game a lot as well. So if we were coming to early access and there were a lot of game crashing bugs, we simply would have delayed the release. But I think so far there are definitely a lot of flaws currently, but in terms of hard crashing type bugs, unless it's hardware specific, generally it's sort of okay. And I wouldn't expect an early access player, someone who paid for this game, to have to bring those things to us. I expect that we would catch most of these up front.
now, where do you think the game industry will be in 5 to 10 years?
That's an interesting question. It is as you know, it's rapidly changing. I went to GDC this year, and I could say we're approaching the Singularity Festival, so it's going to be like at a point where the technological singularity that is, which will mean that we won't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I think we're in a way that's kind of happening already. I think I don't even know what's going to happen next year. But I went to GDC San Francisco this year, and my general feeling is that within the next year, not even next 2 or 3 years, that VR is going to be a huge thing. As much so as the iPad was, the iPod, the touchscreen iPod, was disruptive to the industry. I think the VR is going to be as big a deal potentially, if not next year, then very soon. So
You're
10 years. Sorry, Karen.
I did a Q&A last night with the developer of Subterrane. He said the same exact thing that you
Really?
just said. Yeah.
Really? Oh, wow. Okay. It's probably quite apt. I mean, I went to a talk with John Carmack, and he that guy first of all was an incredibly smart man, but he didn't say it outright, but he said, the mobile VR is going to be a big deal next year. I mean, the Samsung Gear, I think it is. I think they're slated to release next year. But you can just see all these other guys are basically they've seen, wow, okay, this is probably only one of the drivers, but they've looked at Oculus Rift, and they got bought out for 2.2 billion or whatever it was, and thought, okay, hang on, there's obviously a huge market here. And so Sony have jumped in it with the Morpheus, and there have been a few other competitors. Microsoft have jumped in with the AR goggles, and then all of a sudden Valve hops out from left field and said, well, here's a version that's ready to go. It's the Vive or whatever it is, I think, isn't it, for the Steam one, or the Valve one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so all of a sudden you've got all these guys, and it's like, okay, this is happening, not, a few years away, it's happening soon. So I think if I was to think about, to predict 5 or 10 years, let's say 10 years away, and this is kind of sci-fi based, I'd say a holodeck.
Oh, God, that'd be so cool.
I'm so looking forward to the holodeck. When I was at GDC, I saw these guys. I can't remember the name of the company, but they basically have. It's for mocap, so but it's not based on a camera. It's based on sensors that's tied into a band that goes around like your ankles and your joints and stuff like that, so it can tell where you are. Mm-hmm. They showed me a video of. I think it must have been a laptop strapped to their back or some kind of a portable computer, and they had. All of these things in it, and essentially people, about 3 or 4 people with an Oculus Rift could play soccer with each other. So, all that you really need to add on top of that to make it a full holodeck VR experience would be some kind of haptic feedback or some kind of thing where you're getting impact devices on your body. And that's, we're almost there already. It's not too far a step to throw in something like those circular treadmills and things. I can't remember what they're called anymore, but a few of those sorts of things. I'm sure technology is developing at a rapid rate. I think by 5-10 years' time, we're basically going to have something like the holodeck or the Matrix. Who knows?
The holodeck would be glorious. I always wanted one. Ever since watching Star Trek, I'm like, I want one of those.
Exactly. It's going to be incredible. I think that what excites me the most about those sorts of things is Back in when we were playing Space Invaders and you were probably playing something else like Galaxian or something, at those times it was very much I think the general public perceived gaming as quite a nerdy thing, but to us it didn't seem nerdy because I would say a lot of gamers at that stage had a very active imagination. I had a ridiculously wild imagination, so I could look at a couple of ASCII characters, and all of a sudden I was in this weird dungeon or something like that. And so with VR, you're effectively you're taking away that imagination. You're creating an actual reality for someone. So I think people could, for those of you who are familiar with Sword Art Online, it's going to be something like that. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I remember watching Lawnmower Man. And we're talking, was this 90s? I thought that was the coolest concept.
It was.
It was. And to be in those to be in those big seats where you were just like flipping around and you had the sensors on and stuff like that. I always thought, I was like, they need to do that with video games.
They do, yeah.
It's like I need to play Warcraft in virtual reality.
I know, and we're not too far away. We're not too far away with the Oculus. Soon the visuals will be there. Once they get those, what do they call them? The Virtuix Omni is one of them. Those circular treadmills. They're real clunky though, but it's a start. And I think once they get a portable version, or maybe something that hooks directly neurally into you, I don't know. Then you wouldn't have to go out ever again. You wouldn't even have to have a life again.
Yeah, which is not a good thing.
Which is not such a good thing, because it's actually killed. Warcraft has actually killed people so far. Well, they've killed themselves.
Oh no, I know. I played it for 8 years.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Okay. I was a closed beta tester for World of Warcraft back in 2003, and played it until Cataclysm came out.
Oh,
and
really?
I'm kind of happy that I don't play it. I still have the urges to play it,
really?
But I kind of like having a life.
So you were pretty addicted then?
Oh yeah, I'd have to say I spent well over 120, 150 hours. Like, I'd go to work, come home, log on, and play until I couldn't stay awake anymore. Go to sleep, wake up, go to work, come home, log into the game, play till I couldn't stay awake. I would schedule our raids around like days I had off. It was like, It was bad.
It was bad, right? Yeah. I know that feeling. I think I was there a couple of years ago with Dota, playing until 2, 'cause be barely kind of go to sleep, wake up around 6 or 7, and then be barely coherent at work. I'll be able to do my job, just, really, really badly. And then come home and repeat that cycle. It's
Yep.
not a fun place to be. And I can see VR, like as addictive as games are right now. I think with VR, yeah, it's going to be. I think there'll be some ethical things that game companies are going to have to answer, or some things we're going to have safety things we're going to have to put in place. I think there'll be a
That
whole
or they're going
raft
to
of
have
things.
to shut off after a certain period of time and not
Yeah,
be able to be restarted because I can see those getting bad.
I think so. I think so. For the time being, though, for a lot of people, they do it does actually make certain people really, really sick. So you can only play it for a certain amount of time anyway. But I think once they refine it, that will probably be not so bad, and people I can see people getting really addicted to it and just not wanting to come out.
Or they'll have androids that are controlled. You could just walk around with your android. You don't even have to leave your house.
Surrogates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You
not
seen that
a
movie?
good thing. Yes, I did,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's why I'm thinking that it's not a good thing. It is a good thing because it's cool, but in the same respect,
Yeah.
I can see it causing a lot of problems
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
addiction. People not paying attention to things. People just dying from either not drinking or not
Yeah.
sleeping, and there's a lot that could go wrong with it.
But that's just technology, though. I mean, with every pro, you get cons with absolutely anything, and a big part of it will come down to restraint. Because if you're a gamer, then in future, and you die from that, you're probably going to be some guy now who just subsists on pizza and plays games for far too long. And I probably was guilty of that a while ago. But neglect your health and your all your other stuff. So at the end of the day, a lot of that will come down to the individual's own responsibility for themselves as well. But you are right; there are a lot of ethical issues that will need to be answered later on too.
Now, what games did you enjoy playing in 2014?
Was Alien released then? I can't quite remember.
Yes.
I can't remember when I started playing it, but I think that was one of my favorites. And funnily enough, when I went to GDC, I actually got to meet the creative director behind Alien Isolation. He was a really cool dude, but what he showed us was that Alien, funnily enough, was actually a third-person game to begin with. And they found that for whatever reason, I watched their playthrough of it. It was about 15 minutes at GDC at his talk. And that thing was the scariest thing ever. So he said they changed to FPS because it was more intimate when the alien kills you and therefore scarier. But the third person one was just so scary. So
God.
yeah, I loved Alien. Yeah, it was quite interesting. I loved Alien Isolation. I got to see at GDC. I got to see how the intricacies behind the sound design. So it's amazing. There's this massive like a state diagram or a behavior tree or something. It has about like 30 things in it. So even the slightest action you take, anything that you do affects the sound of music. You don't really realize it until you think about it. But when you go and play the game and you see events changing in the game, you hear the music heating up or getting more frantic and stuff like that. They've put a lot of thought into it. So Alien is I think although it annoyed me when I first played the game, and I told the guy that actually, but but I really, really enjoyed it. After I think the first 3 levels, and I didn't because I think I just didn't quite understand how to play it, and then after that I understand. Okay, this is what a Laurentian noisemaker does. This is what a pipe bomb does, and stuff like that. After I kind of figured that out, I really, really enjoyed the game. I actually really liked the Evil Within, funnily enough, even though you hated it. I think the first 3 levels, the pacing was horrible, and I almost gave up. But there was a certain point where it actually started getting real fun. So I think those two are memorable, and what else was there? I think that's about it. Those two really stand out. I can't remember anything else.
What's your favorite game of all time?
What comes out straight away, pops into my mind, Mass Effect 3. I love the Mass Effect franchise. I love sci-fi. Yeah. Just so much richness, so much depth to it. I was Shepard by the time I got around to 3. That was my crew, It was just absolutely love that game, yeah.
What has been your favorite moment that you've ever had in a game? Like something that really stuck with you?
That's an interesting one. I don't know. That's a really hard question question. I've had so many times where, and I think I'll boil down the kinds of things that I like. I like being moved, and I think it's like in a movie or any media, even reading a book. If I read something and I'm moved, even if I'm scared or I'm made angry or I feel really happy or something, if something really affects me and is able to change my emotional state, that's what I really like. And if I think about Mass Effect 3, there was a bit. Have you played Mass Effect 3 by any chance?
I've played the first two. Mass Effect 3 is the
Oh,
only
you
one I
played.
haven't played.
Oh, okay. So I won't say the bit.
No, you can if you I'll eventually play it. So even
Oh,
if
you'll
people spoil things
eventually
for,
play.
I'll eventually play it. So that's not.
Okay. I won't get too specific, but there is a point, and it's quite near the beginning, where it's the Earth is getting smashed by the Reapers and everything. But there's a bit where like a little boy that's you kind of create a tiny bit of a bond with, and he's trying to get away, and you save him. But there's a point where he actually gets killed in it, and it's like, oh man, what a bummer, and you actually feel really stink about it. And that's really powerful. It's really powerful when you care about someone in the game. Or there's different times where certain characters will die in the game, and you've invested a lot of time with them. They could have been characters that you brought over all the way through from Mass Effect 1 or 2 or whatever, and it's like, oh man, what a bummer, and you feel sad on the inside a little bit. And those moments, I think, in games or any sort of media are brilliant. If you can change someone and move them, that's what I love the most.
Now, do you have a next title you'll be working on?
I've got a million ideas. I don't have a specific one, but there is one I would really love to revisit. So the game that I had, so Phantasmal, the predecessor, if you like, was actually a sci-fi one. That was before I found out about Alien Isolation. In fact, the whole design behind it was actually Alien Isolation.
Oh,
Alien Is-
okay.
Alien Isolation came. It was going to be like a singular enemy and stuff, and then it came out and I thought, oh man, although I'm just some smelly Indian, no one gives a damn. People will probably go, oh, you're just copying those guys. So then I changed it and went for the full Lovecraftian type thing. So I would really love to go back and do my own spin of a sci-fi horror title, and it'll probably feature proc gen levels, and hopefully by then we will have got sorted out the procedural story design that we have planned for Phantasmal, and to basically go for a sci-fi type setting with a few different twists to it as well.
Now, I do have some viewer questions coming in.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I wasn't watching the thing.
Oh,
but,
no. It's all right. We leave a section for viewer questions.
Oh, cool.
The Drastic Measure wants to know if there was one video game you could go back in time and release yourself before the developer did, what would it be?
Oh man, that's a really interesting question. Um, there are so many. There are just so many. Um, well, I guess if I was thinking practically, it would be kind of an intersection when games are super popular, starting to get really, really popular, and maybe like Doom or something.
Ooh.
Yeah, Doom or Wolfenstein 3D or something like that. We're just at one of the golden eras of gaming, I think. Yeah. But I think I did this. It's infuriating because I had this thought a few weeks ago. There was like one game that was like, oh man, I could have made that, and I don't remember what it is though. So my answer will be Doom at this stage.
Dova Yawn says, what's the ultimate program or game you would like to create?
The ultimate game I would like to create. Interesting one. If I could do anything, definitely would be some kind of an MMO, something really immersive. I don't probably it's going to be a bit of a nebulous answer at the moment, but it would be some kind of survival horror. I really like the concepts behind DayZ. I played a little bit of the original one when it was a mod of Arma, so something like that where you have a life within the game. You're just trying to survive. And this comes back to the stories that I love from Robert E. Heinlein, where a lot of his ones came down to the sci-fi was a setting, but the key things were sort of like a Lord of the Flies type kind of environment where certain individuals pissed some other ones off, and then some of them formed governments and weird things like that. So almost seeing this organic growth of what people are going to really be like, almost a Big Brother / watch, what's that other one, that long-time TV series where people are on an island? All of a sudden
Oh,
escapes.
Survivor?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes,
God.
exactly. Before it got stale, I mean, something like that where you see people's true natures coming out, or the hero, a recent one I saw that was hosted by The Rock. Yeah, something like that would be really, really cool to me, I think.